Welcome to News Mongolia, where we bring you the latest stories and updates from across the nation and beyond. I'm Batsirin Namshar. On the News Mongolia today, rare books on Mongolian history on display at National Library of Mongolia from May 30th. President of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, arrives in Mongolia for a state visit. On June 5th, opportunities for trade, investment and cooperation between Mongolia and Cuba discussion will be held at the MNCCI. For the news, stay tuned. Starting May 30th, a rare books exhibition focusing on Mongolian history, including works on the Mongolian Empire and Chinggis Khan, is on display at the National Library of Mongolia. The exhibition features a significant donation from the Mori Kravets family, which includes over 120 rare and valuable books. This collection, now part of the resources available at the American Center for Mongolian Studies, provides invaluable materials for scholars and researchers.
Mori Kravets, an American historian and avid collector, amassed more than 400 rare books and manuscripts on the Mongol Empire from around the world. The family's donation ensures these works are accessible to both local and international scholars and the general public. The exhibition highlights some of these rare publications, including the first edition of Jacob Abbott's The History of Chinggis Khan, 1860, and René Groussen's Conqueror of the World, The Life of Chinggis Khan, 1966. As part of the cooperation with American Center for Mongolian Studies, we will enable Mongolian study related to some 500 rare books and materials necessary for researchers via digital media. Today, we have exhibited some rare publications in the original version published centuries ago. Mongolian researchers can see and access these rare publications through the exhibition and later through our digitalization project. With the establishment of the new building of the National Library, we set a new goal to introduce the sutras and manuscripts stored at our library to international Mongolian studies researchers and become an international hub for Mongolists. The publications and books exhibited here are rare books. These books have some notes and writings done by the owner, who was an avid researcher of the Mongol Empire and its history. It's a great contribution to young researchers and historians. In addition to the displayed works, the donation includes Kravets' personal notes, autographed books, and valuable map appendices, enhancing the resources for ongoing research. The exhibition, set up under the Memorandum of Understanding between the National Library and American Center for Mongolian Studies, will be open for 1 month, after which the collection will be available for further research in collaboration with the Chinggis Khan Institute of Heritage and Culture.
On the invitation of Mongolian President Khurshid Okhna, President Alexander Grigorievich Lukashenko of Belarus arrived in Mongolia for a state visit on June 1, 2024.
Upon arrival at Chinggis Khan International Airport, President Lukashenko and the Belarusian delegation were welcomed by Mongolia's Foreign Minister Batstsak Batmukh, Belarusian Foreign Minister Sergei Aleynik, and other officials. The visit marks the first time the head of state from the Republic of Belarus has visited Mongolia since the establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries. President Khurshid Okhna and President Alexander Lukashenko will hold official talks during the visit. The two sides are expected to sign more than 10 documents between their governments and other organizations. A Mongolian-Belarusian business forum has also been planned.
Now let's take a look at Mongolia's current affairs.
On June 5th, the opportunities for trade, investment and cooperation between Mongolia and Cuba discussion will be held at the Mongolian National Chamber of Commerce and Industry as part of the long-standing diplomatic relations between Mongolia and Cuba. These relations were officially established on December 7, 1960, marking over 6 decades of collaboration and mutual support between the two nations. One significant aspect of this relationship has been Cuba's commitment to providing educational opportunities for Mongolian students. Starting in 1963, the Cuban government began offering scholarships to Mongolian students. Since then, more than 120 Mongolian students have graduated from Cuban institutions. Many of these students pursued higher education in medicine and have become leading professionals in their respective medical fields. As of 2023, 15 Mongolian citizens are working and studying in Cuba, with 11 of them being students.
Now let's take a look at currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. You're watching News Mongolia. Now let's take a look at international news from our partner agencies. South Korea said on Sunday it'll soon take unbearable retaliatory steps against North Korea over its launch of trash-carrying balloons across the border and other provocations.
In the past week, North Korea floated hundreds of huge balloons to dump rubbish on South Korea, simulated nuclear strikes against its neighbor, and allegedly jammed GPS navigation signals in the south in an escalation of animosities between the rivals. South Korea's National Security Director Chang Ho-jin said Sunday that top officials at an emergency meeting decided to take unbearable measures against North Korea in response to its recent series of provocative acts.
As we have already said back on May 31st, we have decided to take unbearable retaliatory steps. We will not sit idly by. If there are more provocations, and to do so, we will maintain readiness posture. The government will do what is necessary to protect South Korean people so you can continue your daily lives. North Korea's launch of trash balloons and GPS signal jamming are absurd, irrational acts of provocation that a normal country can't imagine. We have evaluated that North Korea aims to cause anxiety among South Korean people through these lowly acts.
South Korean officials didn't say what retaliatory steps they would take, but many observers say South Korea will likely resume frontline loudspeaker broadcasts into North Korea that include criticism of its abysmal human rights situation, world news, and K-pop songs. North Korea is extremely sensitive to such broadcasts because most of its 26 million people have no official access to foreign televisions and radio programs. Earlier Sunday, South Korea's military said that more than 700 balloons flown from North Korea were additionally discovered in various parts of South Korea. Tied to the balloons were cigarette butts, scraps of cloth, waste paper, and vinyl, but no dangerous substances, according to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. North Korea said its balloon floating was in reaction to South Korean activists flying anti-Pyongyang propaganda leaflets via their own balloons across the border. Experts say North Korea's balloon campaign, reportedly the first of its kind in 7 years, is meant to stoke an internal divide in South Korea over its conservative government's tough policy on the north.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky accused China on Sunday of helping Russia to disrupt an upcoming Swiss-organized peace conference on the war in Ukraine. Speaking at Asia's premier security conference, Zelensky said that China is pressuring other countries and their leaders not to attend the upcoming talks. He did not say which ones.
President, hello, how are you? Thank you so much.
One can choose not to take part in the peace summit. This means you don't see peace in such format. You may choose not to help Ukraine, all civilians, or anyone else to end the war. But it seems to me that to disrupt the summit, to make steps to weaken the representation of leaders and countries, to do everything so that leaders don't come to the peace summit, to push them, pressure them, that definitely does not bring peace closer, and that is not only support to Russia, that's basically support of war. We are thankful to US President Joe Biden for recently allowing us to use HIMARS in the Kharkiv region and the border areas. Is that enough? No. Because I have given you an example of aerodromes from which Russia hits Ukraine without any concerns, as they know that Ukraine is not hitting back, that Ukraine does not have the appropriate defense systems and does not have the appropriate permissions.
China staked out what it says is a neutral position on the war, putting it at odds with Ukraine, the United States, and most of Europe. Its trade with Russia has grown, easing the economic impact of Western sanctions, and American, Ukrainian, and other intelligence agencies say there is evidence that Chinese parts are winding up in Russian weaponry, even if China is not directly arming its neighbor. The Swiss had been hoping China would attend the peace conference in mid-June, but Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning signaled on Friday that was unlikely. China has been calling for a peace conference with equal participation of all sides, including Russia, which has not been invited.
Now let's take a look at global current affairs.
United States Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin met with his Japanese and South Korean counterparts on the sidelines of the Shangri-La Defense Forum in Singapore. The summit, Asia's premier security conference, which features defense officials, government leaders, and diplomats from around the world, takes place until Sunday. The weekend talks are being held as wars rage in Gaza and Ukraine, and at a time of increasing tensions and competition for influence between the United States and China in the Indo-Pacific region.
Thank you, Press. That's it.
Heavy rainfall and flooding continue to affect southern Germany on Sunday, with rivers swelling and breaking their banks. The southern Bavarian town of Wertingen saw waist-high waters after Zusam and Launa rivers overflowed, inundating parts of the town on Sunday morning. The local population had already been asked to move to higher ground on Saturday. Many drivers tried to get their vehicles to safety, driving through flooded streets. 6 districts of Bavaria have declared states of emergency, and there are warnings of more rain and thunderstorms to come.
Now let's take a look at the weather forecast for Mongolia and the world major cities. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for staying with us. We'll see you tomorrow with more news and updates. Goodbye. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for staying with us. We'll see you tomorrow with more news and updates. Goodbye.